The 8-bound oversight. What am I talking about? I'm talking about World Eaters, and probably one of the biggest rules oversight that has only just come to light now, even though we're like 5 months into this game now. Now, I'm not going to say I was the one that spotted this. It was brought up to me. I mentioned it to someone else. They mentioned it to a few other people. And now there is talks of this being accepted as a rule across like some of the largest events in the UK. But what is the ruling? Let's talk about it. It's World Eaters, okay? World Eaters are obviously a pretty new faction to 40k, but they are a very strong, combat-heavy army. They want to be in your grill. They want to hit you. They want to get their blood tides off. They want to bring Angron down, and they want to watch him die, and then bring him back, and then watch him die, and then bring him back. But there's something that's pretty huge, and one of the best units in the World Eaters book is the 8-bound. Now, the 8-bound have a pretty solid data sheet, obviously. As you can see, they have no ranged weapons. They are only melee. Now, the 8-bound have the scout ability, scout 6 inches, so they can move before the game starts, which is obviously really, really good, because you're going to be able to get into combat much faster. There is another unit known as the Exalted Eightbound, which is a separate data sheet, but it's the same kit. It's the more angry teenage version of the 8-bound, essentially. Now, these guys don't have scout keyword. They have deep strike and feel no pain, so they're obviously still a really good unit. Now, the hardest thing with World Eaters is getting from your deployment zone or from reserve into combat. That is the most important thing that you need to do with these units, is to go from your board into their board and kill everything that you touch. That's what they're just really good at it. The problem is obviously whilst you have deep strike and you have scout on these 2 units, the delivery systems are pretty limited, because outside of boxcarring a 9-inch charge out from reserve, or use strategic reserve, or just managing to do scout, there's obviously ways you can increase movement with World Eaters, which is obviously super good. But delivery systems are putting stuff into like transports, for example, to keep them safe from not going first. So, for example, the indirect is a big thing. Like night spinners are a big thing right now. They can kill units with devastating wounds because they're quite consistent doing that. And they can stop you advancing and reduce your movement by 2. They can make 8-bound go from moving 9 plus 2 for the Blessings of Corn plus an auto advance of 6 to just moving 7 and not charging afterwards. Well, maybe charging, but probably not in range. So one option that is currently available is the World Eaters Land Raider. The Land Raider is a stoic icon of the 40k tabletop, but it can transport 12 World Eater infantry models. Each 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, and Terminator model takes up 2 spaces. And it's crucial that we talk about 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, and Terminator model. But before I tell you the real spice, let's hear a very quick word from our sponsor today. How do I store all these ideas for weird rules interactions? It was actually all thanks to the Lexar NM710, which is a 1TB SSD that's installed, and I have one right here, and this one's very exciting. It is an M.22280 SSD, which means it's super light and compact, and it's going to fit in a range of PC and laptops, probably one that you've got already, and it might need one of these. This one is a 1TB hard drive, but you can also get it in 500GB and 2 TB for you chunky boys with a lot of data to deal with. It's excellent to boost your computing experience if you're doing anything heavy duty, like being an epic gamer like I know you are. Also, if you're doing anything such as like video editing, music editing, or anything like that, you probably want one of these installed. There is a link in the description to go and have a look if you would like to purchase one for yourself. That would be really cool. There is a link down in the description so you can grab one for your own PC. As I said, it's super light, super compact. It has 5,000 megabytes per second read speed, and it uses the Gen 4x4 performance boosting to, again, boost your computing experience. Thanks to Lexar for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to weird rules interactions. A Land Raider is great. It's super tough. It's a good firing platform. It can transport 12 models, but it can only transport 6 8-bound or 6 Exalted 8-bound, or a mixture of the 2, 3 and 3. But it's very expensive. It's very survivable, but it's very expensive. There might be a little oversight with one of the cheaper transport units in the index that, before I tell you about it, I'm not here saying this is correct. I do think this is an oversight. It says it in the title, okay? I do think it's an oversight. I don't think this should fly, but some people are starting to say, well, raw, this is going to work, or rules as written, it's going to work. Rules as intended might be different, but rules as written, it might be okay. So what is it? It's the World Eaters Rhino. The World Eaters Rhino is the cheaper transport, and this can also carry 12 infantry, but it cannot transport 8-bound or Terminator models. And you're like, what you on about? It transports 12 berserkers, right? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. If we take a look at the 8-bound datasheet, it has the keywords infantry, chaos, corn, demon, and then 8-bound. Because it's 8-bound, okay? Because it has the 8-bound keyword, the Rhino cannot transport these models because they have the 8-bound keyword and the Rhino cannot transport 8-bound models. And we know it's referring to a keyword because it is bold. It cannot transport 8-bound in bold or Terminator models in bold, which is when it's in bold, it's referring to a keyword on a data sheet. Now, we can see from the World Eater's Land Raider that can transport 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound and Terminators, as it has 3 separate entries for these keywords. It's 3 separate instances. It's referring to 3 different types of unit. It's 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, and Terminator model, and they take up 2 spaces. This is all very clear until we look at the Exalted 8-bound datasheet, which has the keywords infantry, chaos, corn, demon, and Exalted 8-bound as one keyword. Now, you could sit there and say, well, it says 8-bound there. And I'm like, yes, it does say 8-bound there. But we don't usually in this game split up like a datasheet name into 2 keywords. We leave it as one. And in this instance, the Exalted 8-bound, there's no break in there, there's only a space. And if we were to split up keywords, as in go Exalted 8-bound could be treated as 8-bound as well, then the Land Raider would not need to list off Exalted 8-bound as a separate entry. It would just say 8-bound models take up 2 spaces because it's referring to 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound. Where it doesn't, it actually separates 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound into 2 separate keywords that both take up 2 spaces. So what we can deduce from this is that 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound are not mutually exclusive. They're mutually exclusive. They're not the same. They're not. You can't say Exalted 8-bound are also 8-bound because they're not. They're Exalted 8-bound, which is very different. So what this actually means is that the Rhino can transport 12 infantry models. It cannot transport 8-bound or Terminator models. It might be able to transport Exalted 8-bound models, which means it could technically carry 12 Exalted 8-bound models, whereas the Land Raider can only carry 6. Now, I don't think this is correct. I think this is obviously just a huge oversight. I think it's safe to say that it cannot transport Exalted 8-bound, and that's probably what they'd update it if they noticed this. But it's quite funny that this hasn't been noticed until now, and it's just quite a funny oversight. And if like it's all rumors, we're going to take everything with a pinch of salt. If people are starting to talk about like allowing this in tournaments, it will make World Eaters absolutely ridiculous because it'll just make Exalted 8-bound ridiculous because they'll just be there'll be like 2 Rhinos with 18 8-bound in them, and you'll just be like, what the hell is going on? But good luck to the first person that does it, and good luck to the Reddit drama that comes off it afterwards. Just a quick video about the Exalted 8-bound shenanigans or the 8-bound oversight, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!